Welcome to Perth City Talks. We are here at the Kalamunda Performing Arts Centre for a public forum to introduce Greg Ross as an independent candidate for the March 9th elections. So what's brought you here this evening?
Well, this flyer came in the mailbox. I'm a fairly new resident, returning Australian, but a new resident to Kalamunda. So I thought I'd better come and see what's going on in the local village.
Are there any issues in the local community that beckon some reasoning tonight?
None of the issues that have been enumerated in here, but I'm fairly keen to see or to hear Greg's opinion of the Tier 3 railway system, because I feel very strongly about that.
Why do you feel strongly about that?
Well, because to close it is going to be to the detriment of the farming community, and I'm a great believer in, having been 35 years close to the farmer in the world, around the world. I'm fairly sympathetic to the farmers' needs, and the Tier 3 closure will be not good for farmers. Up will go the costs, our costs as well. I'm going to ask him if he has what his opinion is on Tier 3 rail. Yes.
And what do you hope his opinion is going to be?
He's going to say something like Mr. McGowan said already recently, and that is that he's planning to keep it open, or he would propose to vote to keep it open.
What you two here tonight?
Well, we wanted to hear what Greg Ross has got to say. We've never heard him talk before, so want to find out.
What issues in the community are important to you right now?
Well,
We live at Seaview Terrace. We're interested in these subdivisions because we'd hate to have Kalamunda cut up into tiny little miserable blocks.
Do you believe an independent electoral candidate can carve a future of benefit for Kalamunda?
I certainly do, yeah. Yes. Reasons being, he can speak for the general population here. Too many times, if we haven't got an independent, we've got a parliament where everybody goes by what the parliamentarians say.
What happens is that people become muzzled by a government and cabinet solidarity and the rest of it, so that even though there might be an issue that as a local member you want to stand up for, if it's against party policy or whatever, you actually can't represent your electorate strongly in that regard. So this is where independents have a real role to play, where communities feel they're being ignored and neglected, is to stand up and be completely convinced in their campaign for those people they represent, rather than the party. Party politics, it really disadvantages people in a big way.
Everybody seems to stand in line. If like the Prime Minister says a thing, we've got the Labour government saying, OK, everybody agrees with what she says, or everybody agrees with what Tony Abbott says. You know what I mean? But here, if you've got an independent, you can work for the people. You can go around door knocking, talking to people and ask them how they feel, or how we feel about what he can do for this particular part of the community. I think an independent, he'll go further than that. I think an independent will come around and he'll talk to people and ask them precisely how they feel.
You've seen 20 years of an elected member who has done nothing for the community, according to community people up here. They really feel that they've been ignored and neglected, so only an independent who's actually going to work for the community, I think, can deliver an outcome for this electorate. Someone who's focused, he's not part of a cabinet, he's not being muscled or silenced into what he does, someone who can actually stand up and fight for the people, as long as he's committed and sincere, and I believe Mr. Ross as an independent candidate has those qualities very strongly, and that I think is the way forward for Kalamunda.
Do you tend to favour the underdog, in this case independent candidate Greg Ross?
I do, yeah. I've read a little about him. I'm quite impressed with with his feelings about the place. I think he's got. I just think he's got that kind of that kind of expression. He seems to know what he's talking about, and he doesn't go with the general run-of-the-mill of things. If he's got something to say, he'll spit it out and say it, you know what I mean? Now the election's coming up. This is the first time we've seen them, you know. Every time the election comes up, then the photographs go up, but nobody comes knocking on my door. In the 16 years I've been here, I have had not one council member or anyone else knock on my door and ask how I feel about Kalamunda or Lesmurdy. Not once.
I think the problem that's happened with the present government is that they just haven't consulted the community at all. So none of the strategies, if you like, that would safeguard public opinion and what's best for the public use are in place. It's just being dictated to us, and we've got to accept it.
What would be more proficient and economically satisfying approach? The state government could work with local government and all interested Western Australians in the ongoing development and application of something like the state planning strategy.
Well, it's interesting that you raised that question, because there was a report, an independent report commissioned by the Minister for Planning and the Minister for Local Government, commissioned, released by a independent firm of accountants who said that local government was in fact very efficient and profitable. That report was not acted on by the Robson Committee or the Robson panel, and obviously if the state government had used that report and the recommendations coming out of it, there would have been the opportunity to liaise between the Department of Planning and local government. But local government just seems to be pushed aside for the purposes of the amalgamation debate, which is not in the country's best interest at this stage anyway. Perth is one of the prime cities in the country for tourism. One of the things we are doing is ruining our best tourist attraction, being the Esplanade. Even if the Esplanade development of Elizabeth Quay did proceed, it's going to be something like 10-15 years before it beds down, even if we continued with the present plan, which I suspect is highly controversial and is not going to do our tourism dollar any good at all. So I think tourism is the one that needs to be promoted. Whilst we're spending taxpayer dollars on projects like Elizabeth Quay, which has no financial benefit to the city of Perth at all, or the state for that matter, and the Burswood Stadium, for instance, which once again has no financial benefit to the city, those sorts of projects absorb all of the available funds that might otherwise go into public services, subsidising power, public transport, law and order, all those sorts of things, because there's nothing left to spend on in those areas when we spend on projects that have no benefit for the state. Ventures like Burswood Stadium, which being built out beside Burswood Casino, would seem to only benefit Burswood Casino and not the public generally. So I think once again the money would be better spent on some of the issues that you've referred to rather than those that don't give us any yield.
It starts from the fact that everybody is answerable to the party machine. So that no matter what your beliefs, and I think most people are going to Parliament, have a really good belief system and trying to do the best they can. Once you get into the party's paid for you, you are theirs to do with as they like. So whatever comes first, so far as the party's concerned, that's the way you have to vote. And that's what's wrong. It should be, as I said tonight, the voters and the electorate saying, this is what we want you to do. So that if the party says, no, you can't do that, you have to say, I have to do that because the electors have told me. And you can't. My career days are gone. I'm not a high flyer any longer. I'm not trying to make the money, I'm not trying to make a career. So it's easy for me to say, no, you will explain to the voters what this is about. No, you will lay it out for the press to have a look at. And then we'll tell you what we think. It's that simple. That's the advantage.
I think what he's doing as an independent is a good thing because he can take up points and can inform people about issues that he gets told about without being too closely associated with any of the parties where other issues might, or strategic issues might take precedence, and with his involvement with the city gatekeepers and with the speakers tonight, I just think that it might add a new perspective to issues that Greg gets told by the locals are important.
You know, the western suburbs was the fact that what purported to be a form for registering yourself as a postal voter came out in a very official-looking letter. And I'm sure a lot of people, including my wife and I, thought that it had come from the Electoral Commission. In fact, it had come from the sitting member, the Liberal MLA, Bill Marmion. And the point was that if they completed this and they sent it off to a post office box number, we checked up and we found, in fact, you'd be sending this very important data straight back to the Liberal Party.
Don't go away, we'll be right back with more Perth City Talks.